We've pumped so much groundwater out of the Earth that we've nudged the Earth's spin, says the new study. This is by Rebecca Zombach, American Geophysical Union. And here the researchers compare the observed polar motion, the red arrow, to the modeling results without dash blue and the arrows, with solid blue arrow groundwater mass redistribution. The model with groundwater mass redistribution is much better match for the observed pole motion, telling the researchers that the magnitude and direction of the groundwater's influence of the Earth's spin. And it's not little. Now, by pumping water out of the ground and moving it elsewhere, humans have shifted such a large mass of water that the Earth tilted nearly 31.5 inches, that's 80 centimeters, east between 1993 and 2010 alone, according to the new study published in Geophysical Research Letters. Based on climate models, scientists previously estimated humans pumped 2,150 gigatons of groundwater, equivalent to more than 6 millimeters, that's 0.024 inches of sea level rise from 1993 to 2010, but validating the estimate is difficult. One approach lies with the Earth's rotational pole, which is the point around which the planet rotates. It moves during a process called polar motion, which is when the position of the Earth's rotational pole varies relative to the crust. The distribution of water on the planet affects how mass is distributed. Like adding a tiny bit of weight on a spinning top, the Earth spins a little differently as water is moved around. Earth's rotational pole actually changed a lot, said Ki Wei-on Seo, the geophysicist at Seoul University of South Korea, who led the study. He said, "Our study showed that among climate-related causes, the redistribution of groundwater actually has the largest impact on the drift of the rotational pole." Can you imagine? Water's ability to change the Earth's rotation was discovered in 2016, and until now the specific contribution of groundwater to these rotational changes was unexplored. In the new study, researchers modeled the observed changes in the drift of Earth's rotational pole and the movement of water, first with only ice sheets and glaciers considered, and then adding in different scenarios of groundwater redistribution. The model only matches the observed polar drift once the researchers included 2,150 gigatons of groundwater redistribution, and without it, the model was off by 78.5 centimeters, that's 31 inches, or 4.3 centimeters, 1.7 inches of drift every year. That's almost 2 inches of drift every year. "I'm very glad to find the unexplained cause of the rotation pole drift," Seo said. "On the other hand, as a resident of Earth and a father, I'm concerned and surprised to see that pumping groundwater is another source of sea level rise," he said. "This is a nice contribution and an important documentation for sure," said Surendra Adhikari, a research scientist at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory who was not involved in the study. Adhikari published a 2016 paper on water redistribution impacting rotational drift. He said they've quantified a role of groundwater pumping on polar motion, and it's pretty significant. The location of the groundwater matters for how much it could change polar drift. Redistributing water from the mid-latitudes has a larger impact on the rotational pole. During the study period, the most water was redistributed in western North America and northwestern India, both at mid-latitudes. Countries' attempts to slow groundwater depletion rates, especially in those sensitive regions, could theoretically alter the change in drift, but only if such conservation approaches are sustained for decades, Seo said. The rotational pole normally changes by several meters within about a year, so changes due to groundwater pumping don't run the risk of shifting seasons But on geological timescales, polar drift can have an impact on climate, Adhikari said. The next step for this research could be looking to the past. Observing changes in Earth's rotational pole is useful for understanding continent-scale water shortage variations, Seo said. He said polar motion data are available from as early as the late 19th century, so we can potentially use those data to understand continental water shortage variations during the last 100 years. Were there any hydrological regime changes resulting from the warming climate? Polar motion could hold the answer. And this is from Geophysical Research Letters on phys.org. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support, and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.